I will be stunned if we do not reach a bipartisan agreement. Unfortunately, the winds are blowing. Healthcare has created momentum. There's a lot of things happening here that don't aid that effort.
Senator Bob Corker, Republican of Tennessee, to our George Stephanopoulos this morning, predicting that the outcome at financial reform will not look like the outcome of health care.
It's been a while since we've seen winds blow in the direction of bipartisanship in Washington. Top Line starts right now.
Hello and welcome to ABCNews.com's Top Line. I'm David Chalian.
And I'm Rick Klein.
Each weekday we're bringing you the very latest political headlines, reporting, insight, analysis, everything you need and want to know about politics.
And it's twitter.com/The Note. If you want to know even more, you can let us know what you think. We'll respond.
Added value.
Added value.
Get us started. What's your top line?
Tax Day Tea. The Tea Party Express is wrapping up its tour in its favorite city, Washington, D.C., on its favorite day, Tax Day, and they are jamming the streets of Washington today to rally against what they see as what Democrats have put in place over all of these many, many years. But, you know, it's interesting. We're seeing, I think, some of the movement's growing pains along the way. We're seeing a new poll out from CBS, New York Times, that highlights some of the contradictions really inherent in what Tea Partiers want. And I think interesting tidbit in that they are still split on the issue of Sarah Palin. The most influential and visible spokesperson, perhaps, of the Tea Party is not a natural leader, even among those who identify themselves as Tea Partiers.
Which means she's our natural leader in the press, because we're addicted to her in a way that even her most hardened supporters are not addicted to her, apparently. Cracks in the GOP. That is what Bob Corker was just sort of signaling there, that wall of unified opposition that we saw from the Republican Party over health care, perhaps we're starting to see a few cracks there on the issue of financial reform. In fact, I believe if you listen to Republican Bob Corker, he may have been talking to Mitch McConnell and John Kyle, his leaders this morning, sort of indicating to them, they walked out of the White House yesterday sort of presenting that wall of opposition again. And I think here he was trying to indicate, hey guys, I'm on this committee. I still have some work to do with Dodd. This is not going to be just leadership driven, is what I was hearing out of his comments.
You know, for as similar as this looks as healthcare in the early stages of the talks around this, there are those big dissimilarities. And one of them is you've got senators like Senator Corker who have shown an inclination to sit down with Democrats. And beyond that, I think there's a fear of some of the politics of it. They don't want to be sitting in the way of financial regulatory reform.
Wall Street, even more unpopular than insurance companies.
Yeah, how about that? Indie Dance, just a week after Governor Charlie Crist's campaign put out one of those Sherman-esque statements saying that there's no way that he'd run as an independent. There are new cracks emerging in that statement, and now it looks increasingly like that's very much a distinct possibility for Governor Crist, that he would forego the Republican Party nomination that looks like it's really out of his grasp at this point. There's a new Quinnipiac poll out today that shows the path. It may not be the most brightly lit of paths, but it's certainly there if you believe this polling that shows in a three-way race, that's really the only way that Charlie Crist has a shot of becoming a United States Senator.
Or at least a shot of staying in the race. I don't know that those numbers you're seeing now will hold up if you have Democrat and Republican Marco Rubio, Kendrick Meek going at each other as well. You're still talking about a base election in a midterm year, and I think that may still be a tough path for Charlie Crist, but as you're saying, maybe the only path for Charlie Crist. And finally, we're going to stay in Florida. The Miami Money Machine, yes, kind of like the Miami Sound Machine. Obama is at Gloria Estefan's house this evening. That is one of two fundraisers he's doing for the DNC down in South Florida today, where he's going to bring in $2.5 million to Democratic coffers. This is the beginning of what we're going to see a sustained fundraising effort now. We are now approaching the 6-month out mark to Election Day, and this president is going to have to become the fundraiser and campaigner in chief.
That's right. And when they see the opportunity to build it around an event, it's easier. Of course, he doesn't like to spend the night not in his own bed. He'll be back in Washington tonight.
In fact, we're going to begin with that midterm election year politics. We are joined by Senator Blanche Lincoln, Democrat of Arkansas. She's in a tough primary fight, and if she gets past that, she's going to be a tough general election fight. But I guess you don't shy away from tough fights. Senator, I thank you for being here. I want to begin with this financial regulatory reform. You have put out a proposal as chair of the Agriculture Committee. You have some oversight of this. I know everyone's eyes are going to glaze over here, but this issue of derivatives, which is a financial product that these Wall Street banks rely on as a huge source of revenue for them, you want them to stop trading that kind of insurance, these derivative products. A lot of Wall Street banks say that will cause them to be not competitive in the world financial market.
We're not asking them to stop. What we're asking is to ensure that the light of day comes to this issue. I mean, the fact is that you've got a $600 trillion marketplace where Wall Street basically controls the information. And in doing that, it's a dark market. It's a dark market. No one else knows what's going on there. In controlling that market, they can make a lot of money. All we're simply saying is that we need to shine the light of day here. We need to make sure that there's transparency here. Our bill does put 100% transparency on these financial instruments. It lets us know what's happening there. The only reason we know there's a $600 trillion marketplace is because we looked in a rearview mirror and we saw what was happening. To date, we have not regulated these products. So we're just saying, we know that people have risk and we know that they need to mitigate that risk. We're just simply asking that Wall Street, that we shine the light on Wall Street, and that we're able to be able to regulate where we see this tremendous volume of risk.
So just transparency here, not ordering the banks to stop that practice.
No, they can still, well, if they want to remain a bank, they're going to need to separate that. There's no reason why other banks should be paying into the FDIC for the insurance to insure these riskier products.
Right.
If they want to do a riskier product, that's fine. But they're going to need to separate that from the holdings and the deposits from individuals and depositors in their bank.
Senator Lincoln, I want to look at another aspect of the
Sure.
bill that's being considered here. Republicans have been out there firing away, Mitch McConnell among others, saying this is going to be a permanent bailout system. And even Tim Geithner from last fall, I'll read you this quote: "If you create a fund in advance, there's a risk you're going to create moral hazard. People will live with the expectation where the government will come in and protect them." Are you concerned about that if we have this set up, even if it's not funded by taxpayers, then that fallback is there and that people can engage in all kinds of bad behavior again?
Well, you can look at a lot of the other bills that have been proposed in the House and in the Senate banking and other places. Mine is the only bill that has the teeth that actually will prevent future bailouts. And that's exactly what we do here. We want to ensure that there will not be future bailouts. And we do so by requiring that they separate those entities, and we make sure of that.
So you think the Dodd bill does allow for future bailouts?
Well, I'm just saying that it doesn't have the teeth in it that we do in our bill that will ensure that you don't have that.
Okay.
And that's important.
Senator, I want to turn your attention to the contest that you are engaged in down in Arkansas. It is campaign season. Your primary is May 18th. You're running against Lieutenant Governor Bill Halter, and he seems to be running at you from the left. A lot of support from labor unions and Move On. And that makes me wonder, do you think Bill Halter is electable in Arkansas in November, should he be on the ballot as the Democratic candidate?
I think that the people of Arkansas are looking for who's going to bring results. I've got a good record at bringing results. I think people in Arkansas are looking at who's going to work hard for their benefit and think about what it is that we can do in Washington that's going to be there for Arkansans. And that's how I make my decisions. I come from a 7th generation Arkansas farm family. I am focused on the greatest asset that we have in Arkansas, and that's our people. They do a tremendous job when Washington is working to realize how important it is to put hard work first. And we've done that.
So Bill Halter obviously has the support of a lot of national labor unions, MoveOn.org. Is that, though, what David asked, I mean, is that the profile that works for Arkansas? Can someone like that win a general election?
Well, I think it's interesting. First of all, Mr. Halter needs to talk about what he's for. He hasn't answered the questions. It wasn't until today that he actually answered the question about whether or not he would have supported NAFTA. He's been, he's been negative towards me about the fact that I voted for NAFTA, all the while claiming that, he was such a responsible part of the Clinton administration. Well, the fact is today he's come out and said that he wouldn't have supported NAFTA. Right. And I'm sure that the national labor unions got to him on that one. But the fact is NAFTA's been good for Arkansas. It was a huge part of what Bill Clinton was working to do. And if you listen to what President Obama is saying, which is in order to create jobs, we've got to increase exports, and you don't increase exports until you negotiate good trade deals.
Right.
And NAFTA has improved in terms of, we in Arkansas estimated 20,000 jobs, not to mention opening up exports.
Senator, President Obama is out on the trail today. He's doing some fundraising. He's going to hit the trail all around the country. Obviously, Arkansas, not a state he won. Would you be happy to have President Obama campaign with you in Arkansas?
We're always proud to have any president visit, whether it's President Obama, it was President Bush, President Clinton, obviously.
Right. Have you asked this
Arkansans,
President Obama to come campaign with you in Arkansas?
First Lady Michelle Obama is going to come down next month and deliver one of our commencement addresses, which we're excited about. We're making great preparations for.
Fair enough.
Senator Blanche Lincoln, Democrat of Arkansas, thank you very much for being here today. We appreciate it. Come see us again.